Good evening and welcome to another in the series Why I Write. My name is Tontlin Oliver, and I am your host for tonight's presentation of Why I Write. What else? Welcome, 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 one and all. Hope you had a great weekend and you're looking forward to having a sterling week. I know that I'm looking forward to a very sterling next 60 to 90 minutes because this is another in the series of conversations with creativity right here on Why I Write, where we touch base with creators of various genres, whether they write books or they act on stage or they create beautiful artwork. It all comes together beautifully when we sit down and we listen to the ideas and the inspiration that makes our creators as sterling and as unique as they are. Tonight is no different. We have a lady of the Jamaican soil who is not only a screenwriter and an actress and a producer and a filmmaker and an award winner, but the CEO of her own media company, YaadBridge. I love it. You see, YaadBridge. Please put your hands together and help me welcome to our Why I Write stage, Sherando Ferril. Yay!
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's awesome to be here.
It is amazing to have you and to meet you across the screen on Why I Write. Especially at a time now, Sherando, when there is a big conversation around Jamaica and Jamaicans in movies. You
Listener.
know? And it's not the first time that we have had Jamaicans in movies. We started way back when with Perry Henzel's The Harder They Come, starring Jimmy Cliff.
Right.
We went on to see so many other films coming out of Jamaica.
Mhm.
But the one that is currently in theaters has everybody's hearts beating and tongues are wagging and minds going and minds blown. But there is more to what it takes to go into making a movie, creating a play for a stage, even drawing art, finding all the right players. Not true.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is easy for the average person viewing because that's exactly what they're doing, viewing. So what they're seeing is a finished product, all the work that goes into development, first of all, the writing of the script, the creating of the characters, the scenario, the story, the log line, the analysis, the synopsis rather, the treatment, and then to move now into casting and then production. And on production days, you have no idea what can go wrong when somebody fix the road, what them never tell you about, which actually happened to us in when we were filming Jamaican Bodyguard last year. And all of the stuff that happens in production, the personality clashes, all those amazing things. And then you go
Yes.
into post-production, and then in post-production, you go, oh my God, it never sound right. And then you have to go to ADR. Yeah. So it's a lot of work that goes into creating that finished product that the viewer gets to view and enjoy. It's not an overnight thing, it's not an overnight success. I know now with the advent of the ability to create content on your cell phone, there's a lot that's taken for granted. But bear in mind that we're talking about different levels here. Because if we're talking about going to watch a Marvel movie, it's not the same as if you create a TikTok video. So the levels that we're elevating ourselves to is that Marvel movie. And so that's why we talk about the journey, and
Yes.
the journey
Yes.
is a beautiful journey.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing and conversing with you along the lines of this journey. I do not have any experience in being a film producer. I have no experience. I only act in front of the camera. That's about it. I have to do several different takes. But as we talk about takes, let's take us back. You take us back to the start of Sherando. Who is Sherando? Who are you? Where have you come from? All of a sudden, it may seem.
That's hilarious. So it's funny because there's this thing I share on Facebook ever so often. It's an iceberg where it shows just the top, the success, and that's what people see. And at the bottom, you see the whole root of it going all the way down. I've been a professional actress, and by professional I mean I've been paid for working since I was 16 years old. I'm 48 years old this year. So that is what, 32 years, something like that.
That's
Right. Um,
yeah.
yes, me don't young. But what has happened is we now live in an era where things get shared a lot easier. When you and I were talking before, was a boy back in the day when we were younger, if them did have social media, them young people are not have nothing but
You know the thing.
right?
You know the thing.
Oh
You know
yes,
the
oh
thing.
yes, oh
You
yes.
know,
But it's been a journey. It's been a lot of hard work. And I actually started performing in the church. My dad, before he
where did you
passed,
grow up, for instance? Which parish in Jamaica did you?
Kingston, off Mannings Hill Road. I grew up, me's a ghetto girl, you know. Well, them say me not for call it ghetto, me just grow poor, you know. So there are lots of days when there are things you wish you had that you just never had. And I
Mm,
genuinely believe that that fostered my creative spirit because I used to walk around the yard. I was the only child for my mother and father. So I was the only one who grew up in the house. And
mm,
so I was basically an only child. So me would have walk around the yard with a broom and a rake. And so me rake up the yard, me use the rake for my microphone. And then when me finish with that, me climb the mango tree as a tomboy, by the way. Climb the mango tree and stand up in the tree and sing and carry on. And all those things that I created in my head was
mm.
because you never have a lot. And so you find that you are in a space where it is so much easier to make something up because if you don't have the sorry, the newest toy or the prettiest dolly or whatever, you make up something, and you make it work, and that worked to my advantage.
Where did you go to school? Like at prep school, primary school? What were those early years like? Because those are the years when, as kids, we tend to be like super, super creative. Some outgrow it,
Mm.
some shut it down, others just allow it to blossom. So
Yeah,
let's
so
take us back to the early years. How was that creativity nurtured within you, even as an only child, for your
so I
parents?
went to Lord Jesus, our school, my God. I went to Zenith Prep School. And it was a private school. Even though we didn't have a lot, my parents did spend a lot on my education, so kudos to them. I have to big them up for that. And it being a private school, it meant you get a lot more personal attention.
Mm.
And so me kind of spoiled too. My father spoiled me, not gonna lie. Not my mother. My mother no spear, no rather spoil, no child. She licked me in my backside, right? But my dad, I was daddy's girl,
Uh-huh.
and so I really was spoiled. I was nurtured, but it was necessary because you need the balance when it comes to
Mhm.
parenting. So
Mhm.
I went to Zenith Prep School, and I was always on stage. I found a picture recently of myself and two other students from Zenith Prep. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, and we were performing at graduation, and I was singing. So it was kind of in the stars from then. And then I left there and I went to Kingston Technical High School. I got a track and field scholarship to go to Kingston Technical High School. Yes, I used to run before all the folds came in, the back fat and such.
That's good. I
um,
was just telling myself son the other day how I enjoyed throwing the discus and throwing the javelin and throwing the shot put. So yes.
but you know what it is? The fact is we enjoyed it. And that is what matters. We have stories now to tell, right? And I enjoyed my childhood. I enjoy my school days because I had no filter. There was nothing that stood in my way to prevent me from being everything I wanted to be. And so Kingston Technical, I ran track and field and I did JCDC festival. I can't remember if I did win anything while I was there. I don't remember. But I know we went on a few years and I really enjoyed that. I was singing. Yes, I was running track and I was singing. And
Mm,
then I graduated and I went to sixth form at Meadowbrook High School.
mm,
And there I ran track again. Win Miss Meadowbrook one year. I was student council president another year.
mm.
Some whole listen now, me tell you me enjoy my life. So for high school life for me was something that I really embraced and I really, really, really enjoyed. And so coming out of that put me in a position where I could really blossom and embrace my creative side. So coming out of that was easy. I was on stage with Ginger Night at 17 years old. while I was still in sixth form at Meadowbrook High School.
That's
So I
right.
kind of transitioned over from school into theater, into television. At 16 years old, I did Lime Tree Lane.
Mhm.
So whilst I was at school, I was working. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the story leading up to university.
Yes, yes, yes. That pretty much sounds like the exciting life too I managed to enjoy from high school, having started pantomime too in high school. And this is the beauty about our Jamaican education back in those days. You were given the full length to
Oh God, yes.
explore
Oh yes. Oh
who
yes.
you
Yes.
are in the greatest authentic way. Our children who are surrounded by so much social media will
Mm,
never understand
mm, mm,
the
mm,
joy it is
mm,
to
mm.
just authentically blossom where you are at.
Yes, ma'am.
You
They
know?
even have social skill issues because they spend so much time on the phone. It's a challenge sometimes just having a regular conversation with another human being. There's all this texting. So you don't just take up the phone and call anymore. It's just the texting. So when it comes time to speak to somebody, it can pose such a challenge for these kids, you
Yeah.
know. But
Well, and that's unfortunate. But you see, again, that's why we create. That's why we write.
mm,
That's why we act.
yeah,
That's why we have to create the stories, whether we create them on screen or in between pages,
yes, ma'am.
because we have to leave those little nuggets, those Easter eggs, as they would call them in some movies, so that they have a something to look back on. Sometimes, when you watch some of those futuristic movies, you see how they're watching these old tapes as to what human beings used to do back in the.
How
I
they
want.
used to talk.
Yes, and how they used to talk and a particular music they listened to at a particular point in time. I want to just pause here to welcome some of our audience members, people like Zamira Love and Joan Andrea and Marilyn Ballantyne from out of St. Lucia. You finished partying, Marilyn? Errol Bean, thank you for the good wishes. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's good to have you with us. So here you are at high school doing stage work. I used to
Mhm.
do the same thing, go back to school at daytime and fall asleep. What's up, big sleeping at the people in class?
What?
You know? And so you felt really good living in your authentic creative self
Yes, ma'am.
all the way through. When it came time to graduate from high school, finish sixth form, what were the choices that you were faced with that made you decide one thing or three things or five things over the next six? What happened?
It's interesting because when I hate to say back in the day, I'm not that old, but back then when I was making the decision, a career as an actress wasn't an option. A career as a filmmaker in Jamaica wasn't an option. A career as a producer, writer, director, that wasn't an option. So drama school was glaring. I wanted to go to the school of drama. But then the conversation was when I graduate from the school of drama, what am I going to do? And so I took the next best thing. I went to Caramac. I did journalism.
Mhm.
And that in and of itself gave me the freedom to still exist in my truth on a certain level because I ended up on Fame FM. Bless Francois from now until forever, who gave me that opportunity.
You're right.
And he just allowed me to, obviously with some kind of parameters, because you're up on the radio, I can't just get to it, right? But I chose journalism because it gave me that freedom, but also it allowed me to tell stories. Because as journalists, we get to tell stories too, and it kept me in that space. It kept me in the spotlight because as a performer, you want to be in front of the camera, you want to be behind the microphone. So whilst I didn't get an opportunity to go to the school of drama, I still got an opportunity to perform whilst I was doing journalism. So it's the how can I embrace the things that I love the most and exist in my authentic self? Because these weren't the words I was saying to myself then. But this is really what it was. How can I do all of that and still have a career? And
Mhm.
that's how Karamat came into being.
Mhm. Mhm. You know, again, I am thrilled. I'm getting goosebumps at the memory.
Yeah,
The privilege that we experienced in Jamaica
yeah.
of going to a place like Caramac and literally sitting in a state-of-the-art television studio,
Man.
or working in the radio studio that's there that became Radio Mona at one
The
stage.
teachers like John Maxwell,
John
I mean,
Maxwell,
God, man.
Agri
Alma
Brown,
Makian,
Alma Hawkins,
Faye Ellington. Yep.
I remember there was a lady, Mrs. Kamak, who she taught us English at that time because we always had to be doing English there. But it was really revolutionary and state of the art. They you could even get into Karak. You have to get into Karak by your ears, literally.
Listen, I 2 times I tried before I get in, When I tried the first time, I never got in. I went and I did linguistics. And I tried again the next year. And before the results even come out, me go to Agri Brown office. Me knock on him door. Me say, listen to me, sir. I need a space in this school. The man
Yes.
said, I'm gonna come me like, who are you? What is happening? I said, listen, let's just be clear. Whatever those results say, sir, I need to have a place. This is where I'm meant to be. And then time they listen. But Mr. Brave, like I don't know barriers or anything. It's like nothing fazed me. And fortunately for all of us, I did get a space because otherwise would have walked around and pick it.
You know, I applied to do the degree program again, never got through. A whole lot of us never got through. I said, well, all right, let me just finish my degree in the literature and arts. And I had even John Hearn as one of my teachers one of the time,
Wow.
Mervyn Morris and so on. And when we're done, yeah, we go to Karamak. So, we are grateful for the origins that we grew up with in Jamaica, West Indies. No one else, someone we never want to go nowhere. So here you are, you're doing radio in Jamaica at the one and only Fame FM. And the Fame FM had these fabulous parties for those persons who don't know anything about Fame.
Girl, the fame road party. Hello.
Yeah, it was, and it was fabulous. Your guys, I used to be very jealous of Fame FM crew because you all had this fabulous calendar, real cover girl stuff.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
photography was on point, the
yeah.
setup, everything. I'm like, why am I not working over there?
And they were all themed, every year was a new theme, I mean, yeah.
That's an exciting experience to be a part of. So how long did you spend at Fame FM?
I
And
think I was
what,
at Fame maybe about 8 years. I was
mm,
at Fame. And then when I left Fame, I left to do my own thing.
mm.
By
What was your
then,
own thing and what boiled and burned up within you to say, I can step away from Fame and let me become my own independent thing person. What
listen,
happened?
I'm going to be very, very honest with you. There was a work, I may never get it, I made it vex. Because I say, why Francois never give me that work, yeah? I made have it up. And being who I am, I went and I had a conversation with him. And he said to me, he said, you're not ready.
Mm,
And at 27, that's not what you want to hear.
mm,
In your heart, in your mind, you think you are ready. And this is where I'm meant to be. And I can do that. But in his wisdom, he was so correct. I was not ready.
mm,
But what I don't believe in is mistakes. I don't have regrets, I
mm,
don't do that. So when I left, it was time for me to leave because I needed to go on and start what I then called Q Ferry Productions, which Q Ferry Productions turned out to be something a lot bigger than I even anticipated. Because me did just want to produce some radio commercials, so story time. When I was at Fame as one of the producers at one point of Uncensored, Uncensored used to come on every Monday evening and would talk about everything from sex to politics.
mhm.
And one night, Winsome Callum, her name gets mentioned in all of my stories, all of my interviews. Winsome Callum was on, and we were talking about light and something about communicating, why people still are thief light and whatnot. And I had an idea. And again, just briefs, right? I went to her and I said to her, I think I can solve your problem. And she said, oh, she was gracious, She said, oh, okay, how is that? I said, I think a part of the problem is that the way you're communicating with these people is not reaching them because you would be sending flyers in the bill. And what I said, some of them people probably can't read. So let's do an audio drama. And she said, you think you can solve my problem? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, okay, have a sample of that on my desk in 2 days. I said, okay, that's how me why. Yeah.
Fly the
That,
gate.
yep, that audio drama was called Power Connection, and it was on air for 17 years before it came off. Yeah, man.
Wow.
17 years. Yeah,
And what
yeah.
results did she report? What results did JPS report?
Well, it communicated so well with their audience that they ended up having what you call it again? The cartoon thing in the newspaper with the same character names from it, like a spin-off of it. At one point, we attempted to do a television spin-off of it as well. You know, it was so successful that again, it lasted for 17 years.
That
You
list,
know?
that anything that lasts that long,
Yeah.
and Jamaicans love a good audio story, a good.
Listen, man, and Daphne did just mix up. And what was good, what I enjoyed, I think, most about that was the challenge of taking technical information and breaking it down to have regular folks express it and then have regular folks understand it and be able to apply it to their everyday life. So I really, really, really enjoyed doing that.
What that tells me, Sherando, is that there's much to be said
Mhm,
for your schooling in journalism, one,
mhm.
your experiences on stage, two, and also the full recognition that we are a culturally multilingual society.
No doubt.
And we do not all emote or understand in the same language, in the same way, in the same tonalities.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
that has always been true of our West Indian societies. So no matter how much GCE, no matter how much CXC, no
mhm,
matter how much Rhodes Scholar Pastoral Jamaica, no
mhm.
matter how much models of working and teaching we could ever inherit from any foreign, the reality remains that we live in a dichotomous, with more like a multichotomous, if there's any. We live in a multicultural society in Jamaica.
Mhm,
And as producers of information, whether you are a newsreader, a journalist, a cameraman, whatever it is, you got to understand that psyche. And there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with it. And
No.
we see the heavy discussion coming out in the film that is now in the theaters that everybody has something to say about, because there is such a passionate, passionate involvement of all levels of the stories around the
Listen,
characters around.
listen.
So I love that story. I absolutely love that story because it proves the worth of the work you do. That's what it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I
So
appreciate
after you see the success of your audio, and that's public education,
it.
you know, Dulcimina, Under the Law, the whole of them. That's
Mhm.
public education.
As you mentioned, under the law, I will just add that before I actually got into university, there was a year in between high school and UA that I was working as a secretary in a PR firm, the most boring year of my entire life because I wasn't performing. I did glad for the work. I made a bills to pay, but Lord have mercy. Um,
You just
and I
hack it out.
remember,
You just act like you're a secretary.
listen, me just hock it, I may have to hack it out in a miss. Oh, because me did work to death. Anyhow, I remember as I used to listen to Under the Law, and I called RJR because again, fearless, absolutely fearless. See this tattoo here, can you see it? That says fearless.
Ah, yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
who I used to be. You know, I got this with my daughter when she turned 16, but we'll get to that story in a minute. And because of my fearlessness, I said, I was listening to Under the Law, and I realized that I was hearing some of the same people playing different characters. And
Mm.
so what I did was I called RJR. This time I'm 18 or 19, remember. Called RJR and I said, may I speak with the producer of Under the Law? And they said, he's not here right now. Would you like to leave a message? I said, absolutely. Could you have him call me at so and so? Well, Ed Wallace, being the darling he was, he called me back. And he called and he said, hello, ma'am. My name is Ed Wallace. How can I help you, ma'am?
Ed, where are you?
I know, right? And I said, listen, Mr. Wallace, I've been listening to Under the Law, and I believe I can solve your problem. Obviously, we can't solve everybody's problem, you know. He said, what do you mean? What problem are you talking about? I said, I recognize that you're using the same actors to play a variety of characters. I can do that, but I can do it by changing my voice. So you won't even know that it is the same person. And he laughed. Let me tell you, so a big hearty laugh, you know, because remember, I didn't I wasn't popular. I'm like 18 or 9, something, I don't remember, right? So nobody knows my name, nobody knows who I am, but me does know. And Ed said, all right, can you meet me at the theater at X time? I said, sure. The rest is history. Ed and
Beautiful.
I are now working on a movie together. You
Beautiful.
know, the rest is history. So
Beautiful.
yeah, if
I,
nothing is, if you don't take away anything from this, is be fearless in the
yes.
pursuit of what you really, really want to do.
No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. I love stories like these because I'm seeing the whole cinema of this of these stories,
Mhm.
and I'm seeing them work and take life. So you've done these, you go and you do your own thing and you succeed. And another thing, I think the Sherando Ferril who was doing all of that, and even today appears to me to be a Sherando who just go about our business, do our business, just put out our work and just she now look up, she keep her head down and whatnot. Because you move, my father would have said mystic. Everybody would necessarily connect you with all the dots, which is I think is a fantastic thing,
Thank
you know,
you.
because everybody don't need to know everything. But anyway, that is aside.
Agree.
You
Agree.
know,
Agree.
um, you went through this period of success, and then what was your next step? Where did your life take you?
All right. So, True love tell story, right? Tell like a story because the storyteller and that's the never know. All right. So, I entered the Miss Jamaica Festival Queen pageant when I was 22 years old. And
Mm.
I remember we went to do, because I make a tour, this was the Kingston. I never made it to the finals. I came second in the Kingston thing. Anyway, so they make a tour and do media stops and whatnot. And I remember I was in the studio with Richie B, right? Now, remember, these people are star and star and star from before me even know my name. I'm sitting in the studio with Richard Burgess, who now I can call him Richard Burgess because we're colleagues, right? Can you imagine that? God have mercy. Anyway, I'm sitting in the studio and we're talking, and he said to me, where do I see myself in, I think it was 5 or 10 years or something like that. No, he said 10 years. And I said, well, in 5 years, I see myself taking your job because I very well intend to be
Of it. You so like of me. Joan address if I tell you how they do.
Good order, do please, my darling. Lord, smell of mercy. Yes. And I said to him, I said, in the next 10 to 15 years, I'm going to be in Hollywood. Because that I believe is where my life is taking me. That's what me I go. I have a smile about it because having that Hollywood dream is something that a lot of people speak about, but to actually believe that it can happen is a whole other story. Back then, if I understood what manifesting meant, then I would have known that I would have been manifesting my future because I did end up in LA.
Yes.
After I did my first degree at Carimac, I spent some time busy being a wife and a mother and raising my children. I think they were 7 and 8 when I went to study in LA. I went to the New York Film Academy in Burbank, California. I literally lived smack that between Warner Brothers Studio and Universal Studios. And I, sorry, I excelled. I was as old as in my 30s by this, so, and all, I was the oldest one in my class. And so all of these children, who are so giddy and so, oh my God, I'm in LA. Me say, hey, me come here to do my degree and got my yard. So it wasn't the same for me if I'd gone there when I was 20 years old. I was trying to find myself. By this, I had discovered who I was. I had a business that was successful. I was married. I had my children. I was focused. And I do my thing, I graduated with a 4.0 GPA and whatnot, whatnot. And then the school invited me to stay to teach. And I
Mm.
said, what the heck? Why not? Right. And I stayed back and I was there teaching for about 4 years, 5 years. I can't remember exactly, but I was there for
What
a while.
exactly what were you teaching at school?
All right. So so the head of my department, Mary, had so much confidence in me. So I was teaching BAs and MAs. students and MFA students. So I was teaching from something as basic as college success, which was basically how to get around in college, to teaching the master's students film history, cinema history. I also taught directing. I taught actors, producers, directors, students. I taught as well, God have mercy, about 7 different courses me teach Tatlin. I can't remember all of them now. But what would happen is that each semester, because I guess I was so successful in how I was teaching, I would get additional courses as I went along. I'm a daunted man, because the more courses you teach, the more money you make. So I never have no objection to that. But it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Anybody who has ever taught university, college knows that it's a lot of work. And because it's an international institution, what happened was, as dealing with people from a variety of cultures, and so that made it even more interesting, because one of the things I recognized was they couldn't hear me in my Jamaican accent, even when I'm speaking like this in English, yes, because these foreign students hear the American accent. That's what they know. So when they come to America, they expect to hear you talking like this. That's what they hear. That's what they know, right? Kind of thing. And so for a while, I struggled, not with the accent, because I couldn't do the accent, but it's like I felt so inauthentic, if you will. And I thought, why may I fake it? I mean, I like how it feel. It feel fake. When I did do auditions as an actress as well, and I did work on camera while I was there, and I did the accent, and that was fine. But for me to connect to these students, they're coming from their own countries, with their own languages and their own sounds. Why am I not using my own sound? And it bothered me for a while, bothered me. But then I realized that them just simply couldn't hear it. So, I just kind of worked with it. And during my time there, I met some amazing children. I'm calling them children, amazing students. Some amazing students, and I've made some lasting connections. There are some of them who are still there now, who are writing parts, and they're saying, Miss, you have to come back because I'm writing this part for you and we need you to play it, that kind of thing. And at one point I decided I needed to come home, but that's another story.
In preparing to have this conversation with you, I watched a blurb you did, a reel you did, where you spoke about, I needed to be me. I needed to be me. How difficult or easy was it to make the decision to give up Hollywood and return to Yard?
It was mixed, because there's something about living overseas. There is a nostalgia with home. You miss home, and sometimes you remember it for what it wasn't. Until you get back into it, you go, oh, all right, remember now. But there was a bit of, the film industry was picking up. At that time, they had the Propeller program coming in. That's something that JAFTA does with the Film Commission and the British High Commission. They do it every year.
In Jamaica.
And yes, and so I started to see those films come up. At the time when I was in LA, I was director of screening for Diversity in Cannes Film Festival that happens in Paris. And what would happen is I would have to go through all of these films. I'd have to screen them to say which ones we would put to the next round. And I started to see Jamaican films, and I'm like, all right, things are going on. We are doing things. Of course, me push it through, right? Not that it was worth it.
Bias! Bias!
A bit of nepotism happens there. You know what I'm saying? Right?
That's right.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. It was a film. One of the films I remember putting through was called Flight, which did really, really well. And so I started to get even more connected to Jamaica again and the culture of Jamaica. And I realized that in all of these auditions that I was going on, I think it's only one time somebody called me for audition for a character that was Jamaican. And when I went and I read the part, she said to me, "You don't sound Jamaican." And in my head, I'm like, "Woman, how I know about me? I don't know not go Jamaica." because you know that they hear a particular kind of way. It's like when black folks go to audition, some auditions in LA, and they say you don't sound black enough. What they're looking for is more urban or street. But
Yeah.
you know within your own authentic self that this is what a Jamaican would sound like. And I was struggling with a lot of those things, you know, and I thought, why am I bitching about an industry that doesn't even understand my culture? I have absolutely no right to be annoyed with Hollywood for not creating and projecting characters that I know and I understand from my own Jamaican experience. So I said to myself, I have a responsibility to try to contribute to that, the growing of that industry. And long story short, I came home. I mean, there are other things that happened, like with the Women in Film and Television Jamaican chapter with Dr. Deborah Hicklin Gordon, Nadine Rawlins, Gabrielle Blackwood. We decided that we were going to restart that. And so while I was in LA, we started doing that. And that too helped to transition me to come over, you know, purpose. It really felt like purpose work when I came home. And since I've been back home, Tatlin, it literally has just been purpose work, purpose, purpose, purpose. One film idea, project, something after the other. No, before the Jamaica Screen Initiative, we would have with that, right? We never did know where money had come from to make us film them, but we did it anyway. We did it out of love, we did it out of necessity, and that helped us to grow. So since I've been home, that's a lot of what has been happening.
That is an amazing, full and fulfilling and filling journey. And I want to speak a little bit about the initiative of your position as director, doing those screenings, looking at all of these films with cultural diversity. Was that initiative worth it? Or was it another lip service? Taking you out of the picture even, from where you sat, do you see where that experience was good for all the persons who were able to submit from varying cultures their
Yes.
stories in film? How
Yes,
so?
yes, yes, because it provided a platform that didn't exist. Because there's the Cannes Film Festival, and then there's a diversity in Cannes that ends up at the Cannes Film Festival. So this particular film festival, the diversity section of it, that gave filmmakers who didn't have a voice, who potentially wouldn't have been able to just go directly to Cannes. It gave them the opportunity to get into this space and to speak through their culture. That for me is what was so exciting about the films that I was looking at, because what you were getting was cultural expressions. So of course you get the whole, you know, for make where they teach you how to make a film and wide shot, medium shot, close up, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But in terms of the language that was used, in terms of the different locations, the environment, all of that stuff. And some of them had subtitles. You know, I'm not crazy about subtitles, mainly because I have to squint to read them. But I like the fact that people were creating things that were close to their hearts and close to their reality. That's what I like most mainly about that.
One of the tasks we have as purveyors of whatever art we represent is to level the playing field in this area of cultural diversity. And we really ought not even to say the word. That word shouldn't even exist because the world is already culturally diverse by nature. But it's about the flatlining of Eurocentric and North American ideals for when it comes on to the production of art in whatever form. Because we cannot understand certain nuances unless it's a part of our culture. What is dead to you is joy to somebody else.
Amen.
And we do have a responsibility as a channel through which all of this creation comes through to honor these things. Now, when you got together with Nadine and everybody else, Deborah Hicklin and whatnot, what were some of the works that you managed to produce? What did that look like?
Well, the focus of what we were doing, we were revamping, if you will, Women in Film and Television, the Jamaican chapter. It existed in prior years, but it became defunct.
Mm.
And so the work that we were doing was really about reestablishing the organization, getting members in, trying to establish it on an international level. I think it was November 2019. I had gone to a president's meeting. We didn't vote in an executive board yet, but I took it on myself as a representative to go to this president's meeting. And being there, I really got very accustomed to being the only Black person in a room. And that didn't exactly happen there, but I was one of a few. The only other Black people I remember being in that space were from New Orleans. But everybody else, was not. And the representation of Black Caribbean was something that made a huge difference in that room, because you talk about diversity. When Hollywood speaks about diversity, I think them just talking about Asian, Black, white, Mexican, whatnot. When we talk about diversity, we're talking about, all right, the Caribbean, you have Trinidad, you have Barbados, you have Jamaica, you have Puerto Rico, you have all of those countries. And then from a Jamaica, you have St. Elizabeth, you have St.
Listen,
Thomas, and the
oh my
accent
God.
different.
Oh my goodness. I've never seen anything that absolutely has been blowing my mind since the days I worked with JIS Radio and we traveled throughout the entire country. I have never seen, I met a Jamaica that me never know could have ever exist. Because the Jamaica coming like it come from a storybook.
No, yeah,
Good storybook characters.
yep.
And I met some of the most wonderful
Yes,
Jamaicans.
ma'am. That's diversity,
Yeah.
So being in that room and being able to represent on that level, kind of change the spectrum, if you will. What knock us off our socks, if you want to call it that, was COVID. Because right as we were about to step out into, because I came home in 2019, as we were about to step out into all of our wonderfulness, COVID came. And it really, the entertainment industry suffered.
Right. Right.
That was a very, 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 very trying, a very emotional, very hard time, because there was no work, I miss let me say me did just come back home. You understand
Right.
me? Yes.
Right. And you
So
had to just reinvent yourself, literally.
yes, ma'am.
Anthony Bonner says, I attended WIFTJ's meeting recently, very informative with ambitious goals. Arlene
Yes.
Thomas is watching. Gaveth Peterson out of Jersey is watching. Keisha Hill is watching. She hailed you up earlier on.
Big up,
Uh,
Keisha.
somebody said that them so proud of you. Who that again?
Aw.
Somebody with a J name. Where are you? Why am I not seeing it now? It will come back.
Yeah,
Person
man.
says, I'm so proud of you. Joy. Joy
Thank you.
Drummond.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I
So
appreciate that.
good of you.
Appreciate that.
So here you are, you come back to Jamaica. By this, your children are well grown.
Yes. By this, my children are, I think, 14 or 15 or 15 or 16. I don't even remember. Somewhere there. Yeah,
Yeah. How
they're
did you
grown.
navigate the LA culture and then the transference to the Jamaican culture and in your household in LA compared to your household in Jamaica? And was COVID? What did that look like for you as a mother? And it's important we discuss this now because here we're in March, celebrating women and Women's Month. So the work that women do both inside and outside of the homes deserve celebration. So
Mhm.
how did you navigate all of those types of diverse
Well,
person?
that in and of itself had its own challenges, because that's when I was going through my divorce.
Mhm.
So that is a whole other layer on top of all the other layers that were going on at that time. And my children in LA, I think the only challenge I had with my children in LA was the idea of raising a Black boy in America and all the stories that you hear. And I'm not the mother to curtail my children. I teach my children about actions and consequences, and I teach them about respect. Outside of that, be who you are. No make nobody dumb you down. No come home, come tell me, say somebody tell you if you shut up, don't do that. Speak up, but be respectful. And that's how I raise my children. And so that can be a challenge in a society that does not embrace Blackness on a certain level. And worst of all, Caribbean Blackness. Because remember, when you come from the Caribbean, there's a certain level of ignorance that you have as it relates to the Black realities in the United States until you actually live there. Somebody mentioned that somebody was being prejudiced to me at some point. I even did see the portrait of a maid. So
Exactly.
if me not get it. So imagine the children who have been brought up a certain kind of way to now exist in a space of insecurity, uncertainty. I mean, to their credit, they adapted very well. They did very well in school. And then when the time came to come home, it's always a conversation with me. I never just say to my children, "Why do this?" I said, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about the pros and cons. What is best for our family at this time. I mean, not just make this up. We literally, I saw we talk, I never did the goo goo gaga with my children. I've always spoken to them like people. So when it came to making decisions and having those conversations, we did it together. And so we came back home, and the last time they were at school in Jamaica, they were either 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. I don't remember. And so coming back now, they're going in high school. And that, me darling, was a challenge, right? Because the kids are now coming back with an accent, right? And all in a high school or picnic, bully picnic, already, for not Natal, worst of all, when they come back with accent, right? And coming from a space where your buddy is your brethren, but when they come to Jamaica and say, buddy, you're talking about something else. So there was a language.
That is so funny.
It was a whole thing for them and for me. And we worked through it and we adjusted, And then COVID came and everybody was at home. And our experiences during COVID is no different than anybody else's. It was just a challenge. At that time, I was teaching at Edna Manley. I was teaching acting. And I started, I think, February, and COVID liquid every March or April.
Right.
And
March.
so I never got a chance to really spend a lot of time with my students, physically. And that in and of itself had a major effect on me and on kids. And I didn't know how to teach acting without being in the same space. So all of those were challenges that were happening at the same time. But me's a praying girl.
Yes.
So
Oh, you can't go nowhere without that.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I'm going to pray my way through it. Prayed my way through it. And here we are on
Many
the other
wheels
side of it.
turning. Yeah, many wheels turning. Here we are together, like this now. And that's a blessing.
Yeah.
All right, let's fast forward now to Sherando on all kind of screen, film, something where she a bad up man who
I
should
mean,
look
man,
like she keep up.
man forget bad up. I want to that's no answer.
Ah! You have several films out. You have been featured in magazines. You have clients across the Caribbean. And you also are currently working on a one-woman show opening in a few months' time. It's been a while since we've had our one-woman show in Jamaica. And with the breadth of talent we have, it's a wonder we don't see it more.
More.
So, but I'm glad that you still are fearless, although you say you're not fearless no more.
Not as
You
much.
know, I've seen you in your award regalia, receiving awards. So tell us a little bit about the wins of these things I'm just mentioning here and how this all come together. How did YaadBridge start?
Right. So I like to say YaadBridge is like Q Ferry on steroids. So Q Ferry was, well, I really only wanted to do radio productions. It ended up being more focused on identifying talent from across Jamaica, training these talents, and then acting as agent for these talents. And so I did a lot of that. I represented within the time frame that we had Q Ferry. over 500 people passed through our space. And I trained most of them. And sorry. And so YaadBridge happened when I came back home. It was a matter of, I've always been somebody to build my own thing. I don't have a problem working in teams. I have a problem working in structured organizations. My spirit just does not allow it. And so I've always built my own thing. And so YaadBridge, again, right before COVID, we revamped the talent side of it. And then COVID came and that kind of died. And so we ended up focusing more on the other side of it, which is the production, the film production side. So there's two sides to what you just mentioned. There's Sherando the individual, and then there's Sherando the CEO. So as it relates to, sorry, Sherando the CEO, we're building out YaadBridge and products under YaadBridge. Now, one of the things that we are currently focusing on is a film. We're hoping to have it in theaters by or before summer. It's called The Jamaican Bodyguard. We're particularly proud of that because every single aspect of it was done in Jamaica. The idea, the writing, the script consulting, the entire crew from Jamaica, the entire cast from Jamaica, everything is just straight Jamaica. And the truth is, in a Tatlin, I have something to prove because I know what we can do. But I also know that without the right opportunities, we won't be able to show what we can do. And I was fortunate enough to get somebody to back us. So there's an investor who said, okay, all right, I see where you want to go with this. So let me help you how I can, right? And so that happened. And we're going to be filming a few more scenes. And again, that should be in theaters very soon. There's another thing we're working on at YaadBridge called CCN, the Caribbean Casting Network. The idea behind the Caribbean Casting Network is that we're going to have Caribbean and Caribbean diaspora talents on this platform. And they're going to have headshots, reels, their resumes, all of that good stuff. And it's something similar to what I used to do as in LA with LA casting. But this one is specifically for us and our people in the diaspora. So nobody can say them can't find a Jamaican with a Jamaican accent. Them can't find a Trini with a Trini accent. Then nobody can say them can't find it. Right? So that we're working on. And IDB was fortunate enough to provide us with some funding for that. So we're on the last leg of that. Maybe I'm a little bit more fearless than I realized because me not stop. I just keep going. I just keep going. And I believe that every opportunity is another opportunity to create opportunities for as many people as you possibly can.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That's really what YaadBridge is about. In terms of Sherando, the individual, I did Sweet Rand in 2019. That's the one where I was biting up the man. It's a two-hander.
And she said it so nicely. That's the one.
Yeah, I was biting up the man.
When I saw the beginning of it, I said, rotted. But I just watched The Beekeeper at the cinema. It looked like Beekeeper stole your story.
Yes, I think so.
I'm not giving any spoilers because you need to go watch Sherando's Sweet Rind.
Yes, and the link is, you have the link, yeah? The link
I have the link, and I'm going to share it again in this post presentation. So it's easy for me to do. As a matter of fact, let me drop the link in the chat.
In the chat, yeah.
Yeah, I can drop the link in the chat for sure. And so on. Hi, Donna Pettiford is up there in Chicago. Good to see you. Arlene Thomas says, big up Sherando. This is Junie. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, hey. Thank you, my darling. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
They love to make that connection. So we can look forward to this Caribbean casting platform.
Caribbean Casting Network, yeah.
Network. So therefore, I need to dust off my own resume and my own headshots and put it up there. Because from time to time, I know you need people with different skills and so on. I also saw you did a beautiful poll to talents, to special Jamaican talents, about creating an IMDb account. Tell me a little bit more about this so that if anyone is listening and they don't get the essence of exactly what you're saying. They don't get the truth or the understanding. Flesh it out for us, please.
All right. So there is again, a lack of understanding of what it takes to exist in the film world globally. And I can appreciate that, because if you don't know, you don't know. And if me never go live in Hollywood, me wouldn't know neither. You know, somebody would have to tell me. So it's basically what I've learned that I'm sharing based on my exposure. So IMDb is the industry standard for finding or for showing your works as talent, right? Yes, people will go there to look for talent, but it is not so much about the casting as it is about showing the work that you've done. So having an IMDb account basically legitimizes you in the industry. So when you go on, you'll have ranking for movies that you've done or movies that other people have done. When you go on the IMDb site, you'll see it. It shows you movies of the week and whatnot. And there is a percentage ranking that you get. And the lower percentage that you get is really the more popular you are in that week or in that month or whatnot. But it is industry standard. And if you want to be taken seriously within that space, then you need to have an IMDb account. One of the things we need to embrace as Jamaicans, and by extension, some of our Caribbean family members, is you have to invest in yourself. So for an IMDb account, you have to pay like $20 a month. But what you get out of that? You are able to show your wares. You're putting yourself on the same platform of all these Hollywood movie stars and TV stars that you see globally. And or even outside of Hollywood, Bollywood is there too, you know, Nollywood is there as well. So it is again the industry standard. So you have to put in a little something if you want to get out something. And instead of complaining that people aren't giving us opportunities, we have to ensure that we're putting ourselves in the places where we can be found. And IMDb is one such place, you know, so it's very important to have that. The movie that I just did, I played a lead in a feature, Chokehold, and it was recently added to my bio. So each time you do something new, it gets added to your thing there, and so you get move up again on what's called a star meter, you know. So do it. You can't lose. If you're serious, if I joke thing, you're going to look for next work. I can't help you.
No, you've been winning awards on some of your work. I'm going to ask you to share some of those awards that you have won, simply because we're not accustomed to the bodies of making these awards. We know about Oscars at the academies. We know about the Webby Awards even. We know about the daytime Emmys and the Grammys for music. But I
Right.
would really love if you could just, educate us as to the bodies that's seeing your independent work and the awards you're getting. Let's big up
All
with
right. So I'm going to try to remember some of them. There's a thing behind me somewhere that have a list of them on it. But Sweet Rind, I did particularly well in Sweet Rind in terms of the festival circuit and the awards. I won 7 Best Actress awards. There were awards from Japan, from Brazil, from Germany, from the US inside of LA, and a couple of them in the Caribbean. I think there was one outside of Africa as well. And then there were also about 4 additional nominations for which I didn't win. So that film that really, really, really did well for me and my career, you know. And I'm so grateful to the producers of Sweet Rind for actually taking a chance on me. I'm always grateful when somebody give me a chance to work, you know, because I never take it for granted that I must get the work. The truth is there's always somebody that is more talented than you, that probably suit the role more than you and whatnot. But so each time you get an opportunity to do it, you have to be grateful, you know. So I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so I'll try to find some of the names of the awards and share them with you before we finish.
Yeah. The other day I was talking to Rosie Murray. Now, we weren't actually talking. I was talking about the movie One Love
Mhm,
and making a note of the roles that various actors that I've also acted on stage with,
mhm,
who and how they did very well. And what Rosie commented on that post was that, so it was just a little role, me get. And the way me handled the role, they asked me to do some more lines. They asked
yeah.
for some more lines. So I'm just endorsing what you just said. You
Mhm,
know, when you show up and you get an opportunity, that's
mhm.
what it is. Be
It is.
grateful, respect it honor it. I don't know which movie person had said there is no such thing as a small part, only
Hmm.
actors,
Yeah,
you know, and that
it's
is
a
true.
fact.
It is a fact, you know. Here we see you on the cover of, is it Vogue magazine?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
also on Beyond, which is a Caribbean
The
magazine.
Beyond Woman. Yeah, the Beyond Woman magazine.
So
Yes.
everyone, she's a cover girl. I'm talking cover girl here on Why I Write. Welcome if you're just joining us. We're talking film
Mhm.
and the makings of film and women in film,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
we need to see more women in film. A few
Hmm.
months ago, I was in Florida at our very first Caribbean Literary Festival as an MC. And I mean, that room, that whole day, Andreen Bonner was one of our presenters who spoke about Miss Lou and spoke about Beverly Manley. She
Mm.
performed her socks off at that event.
Wow.
Make the people, like sweat.
Hmm.
And at the end of all of these wonderful presentations, we were able to watch some short films, not through Andreen,
Nice.
but watching some very interesting short films. And the way they were shot oh my goodness, I can't describe it. I'd have to go pull up back my MC sheet to tell the
Mm-hmm.
names of the films that we watched. Jamaican
Hmm.
filmmakers.
Well
Absolutely.
work, man. We're working, I think the issue that I personally have with Jamaica's film industry is that we're fragmented. And I know that the current film commissioner, Jackie Jackson, big up yourself, is working towards bringing us, closer together because it's not, it hasn't been so formalized. Everybody just do them thing all over the place kind of thing. So what we're aiming for now is to see how we can be more structured, because the truth is there's some good works that's happening, but they aren't even aware. The producers are not aware of some of the opportunities that exist because they are functioning within a vacuum.
Mhm.
So that's a part of my mandate to, as best as I can, to find people with them there and pull them together and encourage them to become a part of members of the organizations, JAFTA, WIFT JA, JAN, those try to become members of those organizations, because that's where you not just network, but also get industry information that you can use within your own space to grow whatever it is that you're doing.
I think that in the artistic space, we all need to form a chain line. We all
Mm-hmm.
need to, link our
Yeah,
chains together.
yeah.
And sometimes some chain will go so, sometimes some part of the chain will go so. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, we're going to end up with something that leaves a legacy for not only our own Caribbean descendants, but for the rest of the world to observe it. History will decide.
Yes, ma'am.
Culture is more right than somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
I had the interesting experience. I was going to say distinct pleasure, but it really wasn't. I had an interesting,
Yeah,
interesting,
not telling a lie.
you understand? I had an interesting experience watching Killers of the Flower Moon,
Mm,
a 3 hour movie.
I
And
haven't seen.
yeah, 3 hours. So I watched it like a mini series, 1 hour today, 1 hour the next day.
Mhm.
They couldn't manage to do a light. But basically, it is so similar to what I had watched on the miniseries Annie with an E, the
Mhm.
story of the Native Indians, the Native Americans on the U.S. soil, and for Annie with an E, of the Native Americans on Prince Edward Island in Canada.
Mhm.
And I want to rang true, which is why I'm very passionate about the conversation we're having and the work that we must do, whether in writing books or screenplays or, acting on stage, writing the scripts that can always be played by various actors,
Mhm.
is to see the is it decimation? Where
Mm.
the eradication and the decimation
Mhm.
of our native peoples,
Yeah.
of the fight
Mhm.
against people's. of the land, of whatever culture they have, where Eurocentric ideals are being foisted and forced on all of us to force us out of our cultural identity, because everything else that's not Eurocentric or North American mainland centric is
Not real, not
subculture.
good.
That's subculture,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know? And I remember the excitement I had when I first saw Matt Sinclair on screen. And she was in Trapper John ND.
I remember
The
that.
time she would have just broke out in a Jamaican. And I've been watching. And yeah, this lady, good looking, pretty lady talking, and then she just drop out in a Jamaican. And
Yep. Yep.
it felt good.
Representation matters. Yes.
It
Yes.
felt good. And it's not, and I'm glad that we're coming into an era where we understand
Mhm.
that our language is a part of our identity. And I was happy
Must
to,
embrace that.
you know, and I was happy to sit in the conversation with Faye Ellington on YouTube, where they were
Mhm.
talking with the language unit about
Mhm.
how they had to do that kind of work as to what even the Jamaican language sounded like in 1975.
Yes, ma'am.
That never occurred to me that we had a
That
different lingua.
language also evolves. Yes.
It does. Didn't occur to me that they had to think about that. And I really commend Paramount for thinking about that. So
And
that,
that's why I fear star, bigger up.
yes, all day, all night, all
Yep.
day, we do appreciate this. So,
Yes.
what is in the immediate future that we need to connect with Sherando about?
All right, so I'm doing a couple of things. Well, I'm doing a few things, but the most immediate future is I've actually my company has joined forces with a company out of the US called Metai Block, and we are doing a AI and film making workshop. So we're talking about, I know there are a lot of people who are afraid of AI, or some people just shun it thinking that it's gonna pass, it ain't gonna pass. It's like social media, it's here to stay.
Mm.
And some people are just like, oh, I'm afraid of that, or some like we talk about maybe chat GPT. No, some don't want to do that. So the idea behind this is to show our filmmakers and folks interested in learning about it how we can use AI to enhance filmmaking. Now, the good thing about it is, or one of the good things about it is the owners of the company that have joined forces with are also Jamaicans. They don't live here, but they're also Jamaicans. And this is the first in a series of workshops that we're going to be doing globally. And we all decided that we should start a YaadBridge, you know? So this is going to be the first of many of these. It happens on April 5th and 6th. And there's information online. It's aifilmworkshop.com. Pretty easy to follow. And it's a revolutionary thing, you know, that is happening in April. And then my one-woman show opens in May. I'm pretty excited about that because I have not been on stage in over 10 years.
What made you decide to do that work? What is the
Uh,
origin of that work? What happened?
I've always been a character actress, right? And I do a lot of voice work. And sometimes you will hear my voice in a commercial and not even know it's me
Yes.
because I've been so blessed that I can change my voices and say, oh, the ways and you don't know that it's me, you know, and a bunch of other voices. And so I wanted to do something that would allow me to explore the scope of my performing ability. And so there is singing in it, there's movements. Me not call it dancing because I can't dance, but there is movements. You know, I'm blessed with the wonderful Lantoinette Steins, who's going to be doing movement for me, you know. So you know it gonna look good. Johan Simpson is responsible for writing and producing original music for big people may I work with, you know, Blacka Elizabeth director. And one me I say,
Correct.
yeah, man, because we
Thank you,
wanted.
Owen, for allowing Sharanda to be here tonight. I
All
appreciate
right, I had
it.
rehearsals.
I love you.
Yeah, so it's a matter of going back on stage. Yes, as an actress, you always want to do something. It makes you feel alive when you're performing. So I want to continue to do that. And I've been working quite a bit in film over the past 10 years. And so I missed the stage. I missed theater. and I wanted to use this opportunity to explore and dive even deeper into the gamut of my talent, if you will. So I'm playing about 12 to 15 different characters. All of them sound different. All of them look different. All of them have different mannerisms. And the idea behind the one woman show, it's Caribbean women and Caribbean experiences, because I'm also playing Caribbean men. I'm playing about 3 men in it. And Lord, give me faith for me. I don't take up on myself, but needless to say, it's very interesting. And that's why I did it. That's why I
Yeah.
did it.
You have an invitation here to come to Chicago with your work. So how are the international tours looking?
All right. So as it is now, we intend to open on Mother's Day in May and then run for 8 weeks. We're still firming up the location. All of this is information that I will share with you, so you can share with your audience. And if they're interested, they can follow me at Sherando Ferril. And we intend to run for 8 weeks, and then we're going to be touching our diaspora spots first. So what we'll find with Jamaican people them, so we're gonna go South Florida, we're gonna go to New
Awesome.
York, we're gonna touch LA, and apparently now I'm going to Chicago.
Yeah.
I've been invited to come to Kentucky as well. We're going to London, we're going to Toronto. Right now, that's the plan. In terms of what the schedule looks like, that has not yet been worked out, but that's going to be happening. When we're opening on Mother's Day, we're also going to be streaming live, so folks are able to buy their tickets and watch
Nice.
the play from wherever they are. Yes. Yeah.
Please don't left me out. I need to
Real
see
please.
it. If I'm
Just
not in Jamaica to see it, I
yeah, man.
gotta see it
Yes, ma'am.
online. And when you come a foreign, as long as we're there, I may have to go
Yes.
see that. You
Yes,
know,
please.
and what I'm loving about what I'm hearing, I'm gonna tell you what this. I think that there's so much space and room for this kind of work to
Mm-hmm.
travel and to
Mm-hmm.
travel well outside even our own Jamaican communities.
Yeah.
Because in so many comedy bits I've watched online, the Jamaican culture and the activities and how we stay, it always feeds itself into some other American or Canadian what you may call it,
Mm-hmm.
set.
Yeah,
So
SNL did something recently, Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you saw it.
really,
I'll send you the link. So Saturday Night Live did a skit. It's supposed to be happening in a Jamaican church. And you had the pastor, and then you had the audience members. It was hilarious. I'm
I need to see that too.
offended
Share
because
that.
then chop up the language. But I'm like, something, the greatest form of flattery is
Imitation.
exactly imitation. And I like that our culture has gone into these spaces. I love that. So that when we're coming with our own works, it is easier for us to step into those spaces. And that's another thing I love about the One Love movie. It
Yes.
may not have been made by Jamaicans, but the
Mhm.
fact, well, you know what I mean by that, right?
Yes.
But the fact is, it is opening up spaces and conversation, more conversation about the Jamaican music, the Jamaican culture, of course, Bob Marley himself, but also when I listened to, I think it's Lashana Lynch, I heard said it in some interview. She said one of the things she didn't realize is how filmable Jamaica is. So we look about with Talawa, we're gonna road again. So now at the
It's just a
right
filmable. What did she mean? I like that.
means to say the place nice enough where we can film.
Of
Plus,
course, all the
added
different.
to all of that, we have crew here that are trained. There are a
It's
lot of
correct.
folks here who
Correct.
went to film school and have come back
Yes.
home, but there's also a lot of folks who learned from being on the big sets, like the James Bond and the what other one with John Candy, I don't remember all of them now. So there are a lot of people here who have the ability to work.
The
All
experience.
we've been lacking is the opportunity to do that work. Yeah, me will talk all night in a tattling, so you have to stop
I
me.
know, I know. Listen to me. I was about to say, Sharando, I could chat to you all night, really. Zimira Love is inviting you to Calgary,
Oh,
Alberta.
hallelujah. Yes.
And she's saying too, when we're talking about when the Europeans are trying to unculture everybody else who is not,
Mhm.
she calls it silencing or
Wow.
muting. That is
I like
true.
that. I like that. Yeah.
Same way he was saying to somebody that when we're speaking Jamaican language, sometimes we say it in a way that is more mixed up than normal. In some cases, of course, it was gypsy. You two put two rapud. Me can't remember if I said, you
You'll
know.
get tulgi. You'll get tulgi rulgi.
Oh, you good for it, man. You know. So the fact is that we have to use our language and
Yeah.
work it good.
Yes, ma'am.
Hear me, Ferrando. Me have mix up the two of your name.
Yeah,
Then.
man. Sherando
Ferrando
Ferril.
Ferril. You come in like a nice big Christmas box filled with goodies.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations for everything that you're doing, the fire you have, the passion you have, the purpose you have. And keep us tuned to the AI film workshop that's coming up in April. Your show opening Mother's Day in Jamaica and streaming live. See, that's a lovely thing too about the age in which we live. And
Nice.
all the other platforms you're going to have where Jamaican actors, actresses, they're able to put up their profiles on this platform so that when Paramount or Warner Brothers or whoever come next time, them say, oh, we don't have to go far. Okay, they're looking
Well,
for,
then,
look,
yeah.
yeah, let's audition him. Yes, let's audition her. Let's do this. You know, when you talk about these things with such passion, I remember the star of Slumdog Millionaire, nobody knew him. I remember the guy, dark guy, can't remember his name, flared nostrils. He's in the most recent movie with Lupita Nyong'o
Mm.
because when
Mhm.
he started his show, Amistad, he didn't
Yes.
speak a word of English when he
I,
started.
I know what you're
So
talking about.
yeah,
Digimon.
that's
I
right.
don't want to mess up the pronunciation.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
my point is, I look at these big stars and I know that they started from this this tall.
Mhm.
So the only thing that would stop us is ingratitude, bad night, bad mind, evilness. And we're
Mhm.
not watching no face with
No,
that.
sir. No, sir. Fire
And
upon that.
again, everybody follow Sherando on all social media platforms.
Mhm.
Keep yourselves attuned to what YaadBridge is coming out. And, you know, like and share this interview. Tell everybody about it so that they can watch,
Absolutely.
see, and be inspired. You left us with so many nuggets tonight, and I appreciate you. Do you have any parting words before we
Oh,
send you to bed?
oh, absolutely. It is important to figure out why we're here. And most of us know why we're here from we're very young. But society has a way of putting other things in our heads, and we believe we need to go this route because it is more acceptable. You know why you're here. You know the thing that moves you, the thing that is the thing that put the fire in your belly that make you want to get up every morning and go even when you're exhausted. It is important for us to figure out what that purpose is, and when we figure out what that purpose is, we have to remember that we're not here to live for ourselves. We're literally here to live for others. And that is why it is important to share whatever you learn, whatever you gain, whatever you garner. It is important to share because it is about how we can take care of each other as a single community called humankind. That's it.
Amen and amen. You have
Amen.
been watching Why I Write. Our guest tonight, Sherando Ferril. Watch again and share. Good night.